What is good, guys? Sorry, I got the giggles. How's everybody doing out there? M.V.K here, back again for a comic review as always. New comics have been coming out, and shouts out to Marvel for uh, killing it with Ultimate Black Panther. I am glad I decided to just get that in trade because Ultimate Black Panther came out this week, or came out this week. Came out this Friday. Even though this is a review of a book I've been wanting to review, I forgot to review it. But Ultimate Black Panther came out this week, and it was sold out here in New York. My store is Midtown Comics, one of the biggest comic book stores in New York. Period. And they have 3 locations in New York City alone. By 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that book was sold out. So big ups to them for that. I said back and I said, I'm glad I decided to only get Ultimate Spider-Man in single issues and get Ultimate Black Panther in trade, so I can just read the whole thing. So I'm glad I did that. I was like, yeah. But we are here. It is February, and I have a lot of books that I wanted to cover today. Well, yeah, today. That focuses on characters of color. It is Black History Month. I really hate that term, month, because Black History is every day, in my opinion. So I have 3 books to cover that encompasses characters of color, and we're going to start with this book. We're going to start with Giant Size Spider-Man 1. This is written by Cody Ziegler and Iban Colo, I believe I'm saying his name right, does the artwork. As you can see on the cover, it's Venom versus Miles. So this is the beginning, and in a sense, this is also the catalyst to what's going on in gang wars, actually, especially on the side that's focusing on Miles. So for everybody who doesn't remember, this Venom, this is Eddie's son. This is not Eddie Brock in that cover. But yeah, so the story is interesting. It's very interesting because at the time we have Miles. He's on a stakeout with Misty Knight, and he's trying to find some weapon evidence of theft in terms of a company. Misty is not aware that she's feeding him intel while he's sneaking around, and of course, Misty is unaware of she's being stalked, or someone is coming up upon her that she is not aware of, and that person is Venom, this character. So Venom basically he knocks Misty out, and we see Miles in a fight with the thieves and the people who have this cool weapon, this technology that is really cool. And Miles is doing his thing. He's handling himself as always, and there are some things that I really thought was really cool to see Miles do. Like he's now able to kind of in tune with his spider sense a little more. Like he does something here that was really cool. I'll show it. He says he was talking to Doc Samson, or not Doc Samson, excuse me, Doc Sasquatch, and he basically says, as you can see here, he can kind of get a sense of what's going on in the room, so he can focus his spider sense a little more. I was really cool. I was like, okay, that's cool. And of course, his bioelectrical energy, he can make like swords, little like swords of it and stuff. So everything seems to be going well, and then enters Venom, and he comes in like a tank. He comes in hard, fast, and he's just knocking the crap out of all these goons. And even Miles is like, Eddie, what are you doing here? And the Venom says, "We are not Eddie Brock. We hate Eddie Brock," and da 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 da, and it's like, wait, okay, who? Miles is confused, like, who is this? And this Venom is just cleaning house. He's just cleaning house, and Mr. Colo's artwork in this is just beautiful. I mean, look at that artwork of just Miles and Venom together, and I love it. At first, it looks like, oh, it's a team up. Okay, cool. And then after a while, it turns into something more. Miles starts to realize that this Venom is playing for keeps. He's punishing these guys, and Miles is like, yo, Venom, okay, he's down. Stop, enough. They haven't suffered enough. And he just starts, so Miles, he's going to kill one of these guys. So it becomes from a team up to now Miles defending the goons, the bad guys, against Venom. And it gets to the point where Miles has to just lay it on the line. He's overwhelmed a little because this Venom is he's just a tank. He keeps coming, and as much as Miles is holding his own, he's getting tired, and he's losing a lot of his bio electrical power. Like he can't push the juice anymore. And luckily, Misty comes back. She woke up from her being knocked out and helps out. She has a gun and then of course Miles explains to Misty, hey, he's a symbiote. Symbiotes are weak against fire and sound, so they use that. And then we see basically that the host, Eddie's son, is in there, and he's basically saying, like, give me back the control of the body. And the Venom symbiote is like, here, fine, he's like, we need to talk now. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, and so it's a little bit, that was fun. This was a fun story. Was it worth the $6.99? I would say nay. Actually, yes, it's a Giant Size. They're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Giant Size. But I would say nay. And the backup story of this is basically from the Ultimate Universe, where we see when Miles lost his mother, Rio. But outside of that, this was good. It was a fun story. It was fun, and we get to see, why they're building up Hobgoblin, with Miles a lot more. That was cool as well. But at the end of the day, to me, it really wasn't worth the price. Unless you are a big Miles Morales Spider-Man fan like me, yeah, then okay. But it just felt like this was a cash grab in a sense. Like, oh, it's the Giant Size 50th anniversary of Giant Size, Giant Size. So let's slap a $7 price tag on it. Just me. That's just me. Just saying. But yeah, it was fine. I liked the story. I love the artwork. The artwork was great. The next one, I believe, is Giant Size Fantastic Four, which I will check out, because that basically we see, I believe, the new king or the previous king of Atlantis come back to claim his throne from Namor. So I'm like, ooh, okay, let's go there. Here's an image of it. They show it in the back, the preview. They show the back. There it is right there. So, yes, outside of that, this was fine. I enjoyed this much. Let's move on to some more. We're gonna go deep. We're gonna, you know what? Let's go Marvel. Let's stay with the Marvel in terms of, and we're here to review, and this is Marvel Voices Legends #1. This is, Marvel does this a lot. I love that Marvel does this, voices. They'll do a book that represents all Marvel's African American characters, or Marvel's, all of Marvel's Asian characters or Native American characters or Latino characters, gay characters. I love this. I collect them. I collect all these things. These are good storytelling. This was fun. The only thing about the cover I have a problem with, there are three characters, I should say, that are in it. Three characters that are not even in the book. Adam Brashear, Blue Marvel. That should have been in there. Come on. Ghostlight, the new character here, and Monica Rambeau. Sam, Misty, and yeah, Eli Bradley, Patriot, is in this. So there are just want to make sure there are 4 stories in this story. The first story is called let me make sure. The first story is called God damn it, what was it called again? The first story, I know it had a name. What the hell? Like, the first story is called Powers for the People. I believe that's what it was. I think it was. I could be wrong. Well, the first story centers around, I'm sorry guys. The first story centers around Eli Bradley, Patriot. Now, you got to remember guys, there are 2 Patriots. There's Rashawn Lucas, I believe. Yeah. He's the Patriot with the got the glider on, and he was Falcon's like sidekick for a while, or Sam's sidekick for a while when he was still Falcon. And of course the original, not the original, but Young Avenger, Eli Bradley, grandson of Isaiah Bradley, the first Captain America. Yeah. I love that story. The first story was great. It was great because at the same time, what was it? It was Eli Bradley back in costume, back in costume, doing his thing, and getting a little bit of kind of advice and from other prominent characters in the Marvel Universe. Black Panther, Sam Wilson, and Captain and Steve, all telling them, how they feel about it. Now you got to remember, Eli supposedly retired. He basically retired from, it because remember, Young Avengers, Children of Crusade or Children, I forgot the name of that, where Cassie died. That really hurt Eli. That was really where he was like, I'm done with this. So he took away the costume, and moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona with his mother, and that was it. Then he came back for a glimpse to help Black Panther during Black Panther's intergalactic run in the Black Panther series. We saw him with Rashawn, and they were working together. But this is the first time he actually is back, and we see him battling who? Rumlow, aka Crossbones. Crossbones has kidnapped some kids, and they're gonna be he's sending them somewhere because of his employees. It's like child trafficking. Like, I mean, what? Rumlow's a neo-Nazi. He's this, now he's it's like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? And it looks like Rumlow is kind of getting the upper hand. He's talking shit. He's talking trash. He's like, so let me get this straight. You're the grandson of the first Captain America, talking about, look at you in your red and black, your red, white, and blue costume, your grandfather you disgracing your family's name, and it's just like, what? It's like, motherfucker, what? Like, and we see Eli talking to Black Panther. He's at a diner, and Black Panther's like, Eli's telling him, like, why should I don't want to get back in that costume, why should I protect a country that really doesn't do anything, don't really give a damn for me? And I'm reading this, I'm like, I get where they're coming from with this, but Eli wouldn't talk like that. That's not the reason why Eli got in the costume in the first place. It's like, whoever wrote this, and I forget who wrote this, I believe they forgot a little bit of why Eli got in the costume. But in there, we see Black Panther, and Black Panther's telling them, like, it's not just about, protecting a country that may not want protect, gives a damn about you, but it is about being a symbol. Same thing Sam says to them, like, look, and then Steve breaks it down big time. They're sitting in front of a graffiti painting of his grandfather, and he's like, Steve's telling them that, and we see, Eli, holding it and holding his own, but also taking it, and here you see them fighting right here. They're just fighting, and Eli does not have his shield. He's just all hand to hand, and of course, there's one. I love the part where Eli basically breaks Rumlow's his legs. He basically goes into like a ankle lock and just breaks it, and we see Eli. He's really starting to wail on Rumlow, Crossbones, but the kids are watching, and he remembers, that's not what I'm here for, and then he takes the kids. I had a conversation on a group chat, a group that I'm a part of on Facebook, and it centers around Black characters. I'm a part of it, and I was like, we were talking about this issue, and I was like, well, you know what? My favorite was the Eli Bradley story, and people was like, what's so special about it? So what? He fought Crossbone, and he was getting his butt handed to him. I'm like, that's not the point. The point is he was back in costume, and hopefully this continues. We see Eli more around in costume, not out of costume. We see a lot of the other Young Avengers still doing their thing. Eli is the only one that really isn't around. So that was cool. I really enjoyed that. The next story in this centered around Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, the Daughters of the Dragon, and they're on a stakeout and things like that, and they start reminiscing about something that happened on a case they were involved in a while ago. It was a cute story. It was nice. It was cool to see. I love Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. I love them. I always call them the Cagney and Lacey of Marvel, because that's what they remind me of. Are they superheroes? They're more like private eyes. They're private eyes. They do jobs, but one's got a bionic arm, is a former cop. The other is a samurai girl who can kick ass, and they it's just so cool to see. And they like, they're sisters. They're sisters from another mother. I love them. One's black and one is Japanese mix, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Colleen is Japanese mix. So yeah, it was cool. It was a sweet story, and it was fun. That was fun. You could see a little bit of it right here. The artwork was pretty good, but it was fun. The next story was centered around Michael Collins' Deathlock. When I saw that, I was like, holy shit. When was the last time I seen Michael Collins' Deathlock? Yeah, we've seen Deathlock a lot, but Michael Collins' Deathlock, the black Deathlock. I believe there are two black Deathlock. Now, people forget Deathlock, he's a cyborg, but he's also a human at some point. There was the original Deathlock was Luther Manning. Michael Collins was in the 90s. And then there was more and more and more later on. And of course, then there was the Deathlock that was like he didn't know he was a Deathlock until they said a word and he would get activated. That was a good series. I think Nathan Edmondson wrote that, if I remember correctly. It was a good series. But here we see Deathlock. He is fighting a character by the name of Magnum Force, and he gets a little hurt in the process. There's a fire in the building, and he's talking to somebody up there. He's talking to somebody who is, I guess, in his system, and he's like, "We got to get out of here," you know. And he's the character. The character is named. What was his name again? Pewter. Pewter is like this like AI system in him, and is trying to keep him alive. And he's like, I need this. And so this guy is literally doing everything that just shows the difference between human and AI. Anything like he would, while Michael wouldn't cross that line, Pewter is like, no, we're gonna do this. It's to save your life. Like he needed like I think it was his lungs, because Deathlock still has some human functions. His lungs was punctured, and he needs a new lung. And Pewter basically goes out and kills a homeless guy to get his lung. And it's like, and Michael's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I didn't ask you to do that. And they do everything. Pewter even puts him to sleep, where he takes him offline, and we see inside the head of the Deathlock system, Michael. There's Michael when he was still human, and Pewter he's trying to fight Pewter, and unfortunately, it doesn't end well for Michael. At the end, we see Michael is now in just a little toy that Pewter was in, and Pewter is in his body to finish the repairs. And I'm like, oh, that's fucked up. And so that wasn't too good. The final story is what got everybody talking, in a sense. And what's that story is, we see in Wakanda, years from now, an older, very old, basically old man T'Challa. There he is. Old man T'Challa. And he's in a laboratory, he's doing it, but we also see two kids fighting and playing, and we realize that they're making a mess. And of course, we find out that those are his grandchildren. And get a look at their hair. Their hair is white. And look at what they're using. They're using electrical powers. The Dora Milaje are supposed to be watching them, and they're like, "We're sorry, Your Highness," but you know, they're a handful. And so they're calling his name. They're saying Baba, which I believe is West African for father or grandfather. Correct me on that. But I've heard that before. I've heard some of my African friends call their fathers Baba. So correct me on that. But it's funny. And so, you know, basically the little girl, they're twins. The little girl is named Zalika, and the boy is named Tafuma. And they're like, Tafuma did it. No, Zalika did it. And it's cute. It's fun. And like I said, the Dora Milaje, like, we can't even handle it. Even from our perspective, we can't handle this. And, you know, he's like, okay. So he sits them down and tells them kind of stories. And you see him going through the hall of the Black Panthers and everything like that. And he starts talking about, he's like, me and your aunt, your aunt, because he's talking about, you know, me and he's talking about Shuri. He's like, you know, me and your aunt were like, sometime would go at it too, but he starts telling stories about, you know, this and that. And of course, basically the stories he's telling is the adventures he's had when he was the Black Panther. You know, he's talking when him and Storm met, then when they got married, then when they had the their marriage are mutual. They broke up for a while, and they were at war with the X-Men, and then of course everything, and then of course they found each other again. And then at the end, we see an older Storm. You know, basically it reminded me of Zorro a little bit. Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones Zorro. And everybody's talking about that. I may be in the minority here when I say this. Look, I am over the relationship with T'Challa and Storm. I'm sorry. She don't need him. She's stronger without him. As far as I'm concerned, she don't need him. She's been doing her own thing. Fine. I don't mind them having that friendship, and that friendship's still there. But at the same time, it's just like, okay, I get it, but y'all keep. If y'all didn't want it to end, y'all shouldn't have ended it. That's the problem I have with it. My issue with it is like, and I don't have a problem with black love, okay? Black on black love. I don't have a problem with that. I like the relationship between Sam and Misty Knight, even though Misty was with Iron Fist. And what happened where? She lied to him about being pregnant. She held it from him, and he couldn't trust her no more. They made up, but yeah, that relationship is dead. Now she's with Sam. It works. But for Storm and T'Challa, I'm just like, it almost seems like something pulls them apart. And I'm not just saying the writers, but in retrospect, it's like, I didn't like it in the first place to begin with, because it was like there was always some kind of bullshit with that, like, oh, Your Highness, you can't marry her, you can't do this. It's like, why couldn't he marry her? It's like this whole royal bullshit. I hate that crap. It's like you can't marry a thing, and she was always being. Then there was always like, well, you're the queen, you have to put where do you stand? Do you stand for the Wakanda, or do you stand for mutants and the X-Men? And I was like, why does she have to choose that? She could do both. And that was my problems with it. So in my opinion, T'Challa needs to move on, find somebody else. Hell, for anybody who doesn't know, the Dora Milaje were actually not just his royal guards, but they were also possible women to be his betrothed. I'm just saying, it's just like, it's done. Like, move on. I didn't hate the story, but it was just like, okay, yeah, but are they going to get we know it's probably not going to happen, but we see this in alternate universes where, yeah, they're together. My issue also is like, okay, if those are their grandchildren, then who's the parents? That's the problem I also have, is like, yeah, but they seem to be mutants. But this was good. The 4 stories were good. I did enjoy it. But yeah, it was fun. And then we have DC Power 2024. This is the celebration of all their black characters. This is more thicker than Voices, as you can see. See the difference in thickness? Because this has more stories. So this was a $10 book, but there are 8 stories in this. 8 stories, and everybody in this on the cover is in this book. So Signal, Lightning, John Stewart, and Sojourner, Thunder, Valzad, Nubia, and if you could see in the corner, that's the Spectre. Crispin Allen. They're all in this book. So the stories are cool. The first story is basically written by N.K. Jensen, who wrote the Far Sector book, which I really do. I have that book that focused on just Sojourner Mullen, Green Lantern, and that was a really good. And she was the only Green Lantern there. Here they're the people of the planet that she was on are going to throw her a farewell party because she's going to go join the rest of the Lantern Corps. John Stewart comes in there and is talking to her and talking about giving her respect, like, yo, you held this down by yourself. I respect that. And he's really a little like he's seen a lot, but he's also like, wow, nobody's never been to this planet. At the end of it, it was just nice. It was just a really sweet story of Sojourner being basically getting a farewell by the people and her friends that she made, and even her lover, her girlfriend that was on. But it was fun. I loved this part of her construct dress that she made. That's beautiful. I was like, oh, that's cool. So that was fun. The next story, which was fun too, centers around Thunder and Lightning, Anissa Pierce and Jennifer Pierce. Anissa has come back to Suicide Slums, but now they are calling Suicide Slums Metropolis Southside Heights. This reminds me of here in New York, where there are areas in New York City which they don't want to classify anymore. For example, Hell's Kitchen. They changed the name from Hell's Kitchen to Clinton, which is that nobody calls it that. Everybody still calls this 2-block neighborhood, because Hell's Kitchen is not very big. It's 2 blocks. They still call it Hell's Kitchen. And it also goes into detail about how Suicide Slums, Jennifer, and this even says they both say it's kind of genderfied now. It's like really uplifting and everything. Like, it's kind of like we're seeing more and more different. And this reminded me of what is going on in Harlem right now. Harlem has become more genderfied than ever. You're starting to see more different ethnicities now walking the streets of Harlem, from more whites than ever, more this and more that. Harlem was mostly predominantly black and Latino, but now you're starting to see that, and I love that they bring that up. But also, Anissa's here because her powers seem to be growing, and they're kind of getting to the point where she can't really touch people anymore because her density powers are getting so strong. And so she's come to get a little advice from their Uncle John, aka John Henry Iron Steel. But she's stuck in traffic, so her little sister comes and picks her up, and you can see them right there pick her up, and she's like, this is bored. And then all of a sudden, they get hit out of the sky by somebody in a kite. And first, what I thought, I'm like, is that Kite Man? And I'm like, no. And luckily, Anissa, when she can lower her density, increase her density to make her more tougher, because she fell from a high point. As you see, they fell, and so they're in the park, and they're looking at, and they see they're in Southside Heights Park, and they see John Henry at his booth, Steelworks booth, and they go, and all of a sudden, a guy takes a mic from the DJ that's there, and we see who it is. It's the fucking Condiment King. Of all people, the Condiment King. I'm like, and you got all the black folks in here saying, yo, get out of here with that. Go take that shit back to Gotham. I was dying with that. That was hilarious to me. I'm like, they're belittling him. They were like, yo, you ain't got the sauce. Like, get out. Like, this was straight legit, that I was like, I could see this actually happening. And Condiment King basically, starts shooting him. He's like, you don't think I got the sauce? Try red sauce. And he starts shooting them he starts shooting them with with red sauce or ketchup, and the girls get involved, and unfortunately Steele comes in, and as you all know, Jennifer, she can't be around any kind of technology really. If you get too close to it, you'll short circuit. And unfortunately, John, he got too close to Jennifer, and his armor shut down, as you can see right here. They're like, "Oh, Uncle John, we're so sorry." Luckily, Natasha Irons, basically comes to help. But yeah, it was pretty fun, and of course, at the end, it was pretty funny. Jennifer says, "Dad's calling." Black Lightning was calling, and he kind of looked pissed, like, what the hell? Like, it was pretty funny. The other story was called Pit Stop, and this one focused on Raphael Gase, aka Bloodwind, who was basically like the Superman of hell, and his trials and tribulations, and what he's doing, and why he took this and did that and everything like that. It was cool. I did enjoy it. I was like, man, they're going back with some characters, because I haven't seen Bloodwind in a long time. And the artwork by Sean Damian Hill was great. The writing was done by Lamar Gills. And like I said, look at the artwork here. This stuff is beautiful. This is beautiful artwork. It's great. And that was cool. Then we get a story that's written by John Ridley. I love John Ridley. And it's called Pure Blackness, and it's focused on Val Zod. And we get a real in-depth into who is Val Zod, what makes him really tick, and things like that. Did he really want to be the symbol of hope, with the House of L on it? No. And he goes into detail about that. I was fine being, he talks about, like, when he was adopted, and, when he had to leave Krypton, because remember, this is Earth 2, and then he's like, I was fine, I was fine with that. I was fine, kind of being in solidarity, but until here comes the Red Tornado, or Lois Lane. I think Lois Lane, or the Red Tornado, offers him, and he became a symbol, and he talks about everything. And of course, we see some things that, are brought up in kind of modern society now, especially when it comes to interracial coupling. There's still some people, even in our community, and even though it's 2024, there's still people in our community that don't like that don't like, oh, a black man with a woman that's not black. It's frowned upon. It's still frowned upon. And it's like, and I look at that and I'm like, that's technically, it's none of your business. Why does that bother you so much? Love is love. You love who you want to love. It doesn't matter about that. And it shouldn't matter about that. But we see this a lot. We see this constantly in a lot of communities, especially people of color, whether it's the black community, sometimes it's definitely Latino community, and it's definitely the Asian communities. There are some of those, and don't say it don't happen, because it does. I've seen it personally. So yeah, that was a good story of Val realizing that he has to stand by his own merits and stand for what he believes in. And we see by the end he's fighting like their version of Toy Man, or Toy Women. I think it's a man, and it's cool. So it was good to see Val Zod get a spotlight. I would love to see more Val Zod, and that was fine. The next story is called Lost at Sea, and this is written by Daron Bennett, no relation to me. Not all Bennetts are related. And drawn by Dennis Cohen. I was like, ooh, Dennis. This is the same artist that drew like Static and all that stuff, and it focuses on. This one focuses on Black Manta. And Black Manta is on a cargo ship in the Caribbean, and he's going after something, of course, like deep sea, and Manta sees how this father and son act, and then they're attacked. Manta stops these, I guess, pirates from stealing from it, but in the process, one of the boy, his name is Ajani, he gets attacked. He gets attacked, and he realizes that the captain, the boy's father, set this up to hurt Manta, but got his son killed in the process. And then, of course, while Manta's about to kill this guy, his other son comes and is like, please stop. Like, and while he's talking, Manta, as he says right here, all I see is Jackson. I see Jackson Hyde, Aqualad. And he's like, I see him. And the boy's like, look, he's still my father. And the way they show the dialect, you could tell these guys are probably West Indian, from either Jamaica or somewhere. And the way the dialect, very patois talks and speech. And, Manta says, he says, you can come with me. And, he even says, he says, you can come with me. The offer still stands. You can come with, because he asked them, you guys can come with me. And the kid says, I like that. And he says, welcome to the family. Very interesting with that. Kind of shows like Manta in a different light. I was like, oh, okay. And then, of course, the next story is centered around the Spectre. The host of the Spectre is called The Session. And it's written by Sean Martinbrough, and artwork by Tony Atkins and Morite. I don't know if I'm saying it. I probably butchered it. I'm sorry. Now, this host of the Spectre is Crispus Allen, and we're going through his story as the Spectre, and of course, my favorite question. Renee Montoya is here. She's with him, and it's like a session, and he's doing the Spectre thing, but she's also like, what are you really? Why are you doing, like, what are you really trying to accomplish with this? And that was that's why it's called The Session. It's almost like knowing who you are and realizing that I am who I am, but also what I have these godlike abilities. I have to use them not just to gain some kind of revenge, but to help. And I enjoyed that. The next story is called The Natural Order, and The Natural Order focuses on. It's written by Athena Martez and artwork by Mark Morales, and this focuses on Nubia, Queen Nubia, and basically on that mascara, basically Mr. Mixelplix sneaks onto the island, and he don't get too far because Queen Nubia is right there. She's like, what are you doing here? Like, and he's like, somebody's after me, please help me, blah, blah, blah. And all the Amazons like, Diana told us about this guy. He can't be trusted, things like that. And there is truth. Somebody is after him. It wasn't a lie. And this guy is trying to suck up souls and things like that, as you can see here. And Nubia and them are able to stop him. And, of course, basically save the day. Mr. Mixelplix says kind of in his own way, says thank you. But it was a fun story, fast and quick. But it was good to see that. It was good to see Nubia once again get some shine. I like that she's the queen. It's cool of the Amazons. The next story is called Jump Shots, Loose Watts. And this focuses on Kid Flash, Wally West, Black Wally West. And he's with a little girl who is trying to shoot. She's trying to shoot basketball, and she keeps missing. And she gets a little upset because she can't make the shot. And Wally's just trying to cheer her up and show her, like, look, you got to keep trying. You can't, don't quit. It's okay. You know, you mess up, you know. But of course, she goes into detail about how, you know, she's just, she wishes she could do more, and she wishes, you know, she just wishes she had powers in a sense. And, you know, Wally kind of explains to her, like, what has been for him in a sense, and what scared him and everything like that. And of course, that's when other members of, like, Red Arrow comes and helps. And of course, they're the kids and everybody like, oh my God, this Red Arrow is cool. And he's like, wait a minute, I'm a hero too. While he's like, wait a minute. And they say, yeah, but you're always around here. And it's like, oh man. But kids are being honest, right? So it was a sweet story. Another favorite story is involving my man Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, and he's in Atlanta, Georgia, and he basically protects this man. He protects this ADA by the name of Thomas, Ray Thomas, and people are trying to kidnap him, and we just see Michael being a bodyguard to this guy. It was really cool, just showing you how good Mr. Terrific really is, like how powerful. Like, this guy had a gun like less than 3 inches from and he shoots the gun at the ADA, and this T-spheres just jumping away real quick. Just shows how powerful those T-spheres are. It was great. And of course, just what they could do. Of course, Michael is no slouch. I mean, he knows martial arts and everything like that. It was really good. Most of this, believe it or not, took place in a limousine until they realized they find the person responsible, and it just ended really cool. And Greg Burris wrote this called, as always, Fair Play. That's the name. That was the whole thing, and you all know that's Michael, Mr. Terrific's calling card, Fair Play. This was fun. This was a good story, fast paced, but it was fun, indeed. The last story revolves around the Signal, Duke Thompson, the Signal, and he Bluebird, and why am I forgetting her name right now? Stephanie Brown are fighting Kronos, and in the process, one of Kronos's devices gets damaged, and Signal, and we see something happens. He is sent somewhere into the future, and we see somewhere in the future of Gotham, he is basically confronted by Renee Montoya, and then he gets attacked by these two kids that are dressed up as Robins, and they are Robins. And then we hear a voice say, "Robins, stand down." So, and somewhere in the future, and the guy says, "Don't you recognize him?" It's Duke as the Batman now. He's the Batman. And it's really cool to see, what Duke is like as Batman. And that was cool. Duke helps his older self. And then by the end of it, we see older Duke tell younger Duke, like, I remember all this happening. So he knew this was going to happen. So it was, and that's why he says, hold up. That means, so he basically, and then when he goes back to the past, basically he realized that somewhere down the line, I become Batman. So, and this was called The Light That Shines. And this was written by Brandon Thomas, and Kari Randos does the artwork. All in all, this was DC Power 24 was good. It's much thicker. It had more stories than Marvel's Voices Legends. Would I say DC Power was better than this? I would say mainly on the count to a degree because this had more stories than this did. But I would say I enjoyed this more because I got to see Eli Bradley back in costume. Here, I got to see characters as well. But just alone seeing Eli back in costume, that pushed it up a little more for me. But here, seeing different characters, I wish there was a story just centered around Black Lightning. I was glad they'd had a story centered around Mr. Terrific, because Mr. Terrific, Black Lightning, those are two of my favorite DC characters, and to see them get a spotlight was great. The whole story of who is going to be the future Batman. I've seen this storytelling before. It doesn't bother me, but it's just like I look at it and I'm like, is that really going to happen? Are you just throwing it out there because it'd be cool to see? Outside of that, but yeah, it was cool to see Duke the Signal because we haven't seen him in a while. It's like the last book I think he was in was The Outsiders book, I think. So yeah, but this had more bang for your buck, in my opinion. There were 4 more stories in this than Marvel, so I can understand somewhat the price of this. I mean, this is pretty thick. I mean, you can see it's pretty thick. It's thick, compared to this, which was $5.99. This was $9.99. So, but me being who I am, of course, I'm gonna support the characters that I love. But it was fun. They were all good. I enjoyed both of these very much, and it was fun. Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that little review of the books that was focusing on Black characters, Black Power. Yeah, better. I mean, it was only right. When I was thinking about doing a review, I was like, let me just do these books together instead of just giving them a single, the solemn, review. But I did enjoy that. You guys tell me if you read DC Voices Legends #1 or Marvel, Legends #1 and DC Power 2022 Giant Size Spider-Man. You guys tell me if you read those books, and if you did, leave your comments in the section down below. I'd love to hear them. And with that being said, on to the next. Got a lot of reviews. Like I said, guys, I am trying my best to finish like all these trades. There's so many trades. I got trades, but well, no, that's manga back there. You can't see that. If I turn the camera around, you see some huge trades over there. There's some trades over here to my right, your left. So yeah, and I just picked up a few more trades. Let me show you. This week I picked up a few more trades. Let me show you. Another anthology book called Noir is the New Black. This has just 18 stories written by all Black creators. I was like, I gotta get this. Then of course the next Static trade, I still have to review the first one. Pick that up. And of course Icon versus Hardware, I was definitely picking this up. I was like, yeah, once this come out in trade, I'm getting it. So yeah, look out for those reviews as well. But yeah, man, you guys take care. I'll see you guys next time. As always, deuces.